waiting to go on Facebook Live. YouTube is going to be a little time delay.
All right, so we're live on Facebook now? Okay. It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show. Thank you for tuning in live on Facebook. I'm Alice Lara, your host, and my co-host is...
Don Jorge El Alacran.
We have a great show. You're seeing that we have a very special guest, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Da, 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 da. He's running for as Sheriff of Maricopa County. We're going to talk to him in just a few minutes. And we also have Tina Drake. And Tina Drake is the core team member and director of the Roses for Life. We have a pro-life rally coming up Saturday here in Phoenix. The wonderful Abby Johnson will be here from the movie and book Unplanned. And so please tune in. This is going to be a great show. I want to give kudos to my great niece, Super Sarah, behind the camera. She's doing all the technical work. Thank you, Miss Sarah. Woohoo! And I'm especially excited because, she just changed her major, can I tell them? To criminal justice. So this is a great show for her to be here with us. Okay, so before we get officially started, do you have any announcements?
No.
No announcements? Okay, good. Just want to remind you, and we'll talk more about the Life Rally. Next week we are going to have the Reverend Clyde Bowen on, and he's going to talk about EPOD is coming up. It's the Emancipation Proclamation ceremony that he has every year, and that's going to be in February. So that's going to be a really good show. If for some reason you have to step away and you can't watch all of our show today for an hour, that's okay, because you can come back to Facebook and watch us. You can go onto YouTube. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, it'll alert you once we get that loaded, and you can watch us on YouTube as well. Feel free to chime in if you have a question for the sheriff. We're hoping that maybe Super Sarah can take care of it for us and let us know. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and just start the show out. But first, I do want to say, and we'll talk about this later, but we have to give a whole enchilada today. We have to do that to our Senator McSally. We just got to do it, okay? Martha McSally, if you haven't watched it, we did put it on our Facebook page, and she's walking, and somebody asked her a question, and she says, "You're just a liberal hack," and she walks away. So she's getting criticism for it. She's getting kudos for it. But I like that stuff. It was very Trump-like. So, wherever you are, and we do have 2 candidates running for U.S. Senator. But we have to give her kudos for that because I thought it was a good snap.
We can't let people put you down when you're a candidate. And a lot of these liberal media do that on purpose. They'll say something, they're expecting you to come out and say the wrong thing, and they'll blast it all in the news. So kudos for her. She, if you want to interview somebody, you interview them the right way. And our sheriff is a good example.
Great example.
He corrects people right away.
So it was a super snap. So let's go to our next super snap. And in case you don't know, but this man is world famous, really doesn't need an introduction. Sheriff Joe Arpaio was a sheriff here in Maricopa County. He did not win the last election, but guess what? He's running again. And we have 2 other candidates. We have had Mike Crawford on. Jerry Sheridan's running too. And, of course, our show, we're an equal opportunity show here. But the sheriff had me something, so I'm going to read it, okay, because it's really, really interesting. Sheriff Joe Arpaio leads in fundraising in the sheriff's race with $656,000, okay? This just came out today, January 16th. Republican Joe Arpaio is leading all candidates in the Maricopa County Sheriff's race in fundraising. The former 6-term sheriff, 6 terms, you asked?
6 terms, yep.
Raised $351,000 from October through December and had a total of $656,000 in campaign funds at the beginning of 2020. Sheriff Paul Penzone, the Democrat who defeated Arpaio in 2016, reported $151,000 in contributions during the 3-month period, and he has $270,000 in campaign funds. Jerry Sheridan, Arpaio's former second-in-command, who is challenging his old boss in the Republican primary, had $14,000 in contributions during that period, and so at the end of 2019, $39,000. Republican Mike Crawford reported $2,900 in contributions from October through December and had $3,500 on hand at the end of the period. Republican Leland Burton, boy, this is a pretty concise report, huh? Republican Leland Burton had a deficit of $445 at the beginning of 2020, so that means he has debt. Okay, he's not positive. No report for Democrat William Hall's fundraising during that period was available Thursday. So that's what we're going to start off. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who I just want to say too, George and I have known the sheriff for a long time. Mine goes all the way back to my KFYI days, and always been good to me. I'm going to give one little quick story, and then it's going to be all about you for a while, and then we're also going to talk to Tina. But I used to be a producer, so I'd have to call people like 5 o'clock in the morning to get someone online. And I tell you what, the sheriff was the most available person. You know, I knew his number. I would call you so much. I had your number memorized, and I could just call him and go, okay, Alice, what do you need? And then I'd put him online for the radio station. So I've always appreciated that, sir. And I just want to take an opportunity to thank you again for that. So let's start you off. Why are you running for sheriff again?
Why do you have to ask me that?
I know, huh? Why do you?
Sometimes I ask my wife that. It's a tough one to answer, but it's not tough. I have a little ego, but I'm really, and let me put it this way, I was with our president from day one, July 2015, when nobody would get on a stage and introduce him. I did. And I said 3 things. There's a silent majority out there. We're born on the same day, Flag Day, June 14. You're going to be our next president. And remember, I never met him.
You hadn't met him before?
No.
Wow.
I got a little note from him on another issue, which is very controversial. Has to do with Obama's birth certificate. And that is the biggest cover-up in the history of the world.
Yep.
And I have 100% proof, 110%, and nobody will touch it. No politician, no media, nobody. But that's going to be another issue as time progresses. I'm with the president. I'm not a flip-flopper. And I have to get reelected to help him out when he gets reelected. We're going to make a great team. So I'm not doing this just for me. I'm really doing it for the people of this county, this state, and the nation. They call me America's toughest sheriff or all that. You know what? I do represent the nation. Well, you're just a sheriff of the county. Why do you send deputies to Honduras? Why are you working on the national birth certificate? I can go on and on. I'll tell you why I affect everybody in this country. I was the head of the federal drug enforcement in Turkey, Syria, Mexico, South America. Those 2 countries are hot spots right now, those 2 areas, Turkey, Mexico. And my 35 years at the border as the top guy on the other side, also sheriff for 24 years, also head of the DA in Texas, head of the DEA in Arizona. I can go on and on. I don't want to talk about my resume, but the majority of drugs coming across our border, illegal immigration, if I can stop them here, they're not heading for Chicago, New York. So I look at this as a national picture and international. So what I do, and now they accuse me of locking up 250,000 illegal immigrants, which is probably true, and all these dope peddlers, which is true. What I did is stop them right here before they went anywhere else. So I am a national sheriff because I look at the big picture, not just being a sheriff, a local sheriff.
Sheriff, I think that's a great point because I know that I've been in different lectures and things, and we are right here at the border with Arizona. We've got some major highways, and we are, I don't know if we're the 2nd or the 3rd biggest county population. Fourth biggest, largest county.
Third,
so, I mean, we are kind of a big deal. A lot of traffic comes up through here.
We're bigger than 18 states. We're up to almost 5 million people in this county.
Wow.
So that's one reason I have to return as sheriff. Now, I'm not going to get into the sheriffs that's there now. yet.
Yet, okay.
But unfortunately, he doesn't have the experience. He was a sergeant, and if it wasn't for George Soros pumping in $3 million against me, the federal judges, biased federal judges, that did not like me, the fix was in. Fix was in. Contempt of court, same as a dog biting charge, waiting just before the election, and this is the Obama prosecutors, that I will be charged with contempt of court, misdemeanor, just before voting started, plus the 3-4 million that Soros pumped in, plus the New Times guys who are now under investigation around this country that I locked up, donated money to my, the current guy. But
I like how he does it, the current guy.
I never use his name. But that's okay. I'm very careful. I don't like technically the badmouth people. I run on what I did, and I'm going to try to continue that. But you asked me why I'm doing it. I gave you part of the reason. And and the other reason, of course, the bureaucratic reason, is to get back to the office and get it back the way it was. Now, I have a little pride in 24 years. By the way, I'm the longest serving sheriff in the history of Maricopa County. I'm the first Republican that was reelected since 80 years, 90 years.
Wow.
They all get defeated. So I'm pretty proud of surviving 24 years with all the heat I've been taking.
That's true.
And they finally got me, thanks to George Soros and the federal judge.
It took a
Judges wouldn't even give me a jury trial or anything. So I'm going to get back and prove a point that I'm not a quitter, that I am going to get this job back, and I will bring everything back that has been taken away. Everything. This guy has taken away everything. The tent city, the posse, and George Soros made a deal. I'll support him. You got to get rid of that tent city. You got to get rid of that posse. And I got to give the guy credit. Not him, the sheriff, because he sure did.
He did it.
He sure did.
You're absolutely right.
So I don't know what you call that. I don't like to call it payback. I have to get back there and do what I have been doing for 24 years to defend the people of this county. And I'm not running to get my name in the paper. I have a way of checking my name every time they mention it. I average 10, 15 articles a day. Every day. I just had Israel here yesterday. They came all the way from Israel to interview me. I had Rome, my former, where I'm from, my folks are from, Italy. They came. I had England or Ireland here. So they keep coming after me.
You still
and I'm
have
not
that world
even,
fame?
I'm just an ordinary citizen. Now I have become a candidate. Now we do have the news media. Love-hate relationship. I've already sued the New York Times, Como of CNN, Rolling Stones, Huffington Post. There may be more. Maybe more.
You've got that in common with Trump, huh? It's go after him.
Yeah, but I don't have the money and all that he does, but he's my hero. And I'm going to say another thing right now. John McCain, when an NBC interviewed me last year, she said, nice reporter, KC, whatever, she's got her show on MSNBC, is John McCain your hero? I paused, and I said, Took me 78 years to find my hero. Now, don't forget, I gave a 10-year opening because when you're young, you don't know how to spell the name here. So I gave it a window.
Sure.
I said 78. I could have said 86 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I woke up. This is 4 months prior to that question. I said I woke up one morning and I told my wife, I finally found my hero. After all those years of my life, nothing against people having heroes. I'm talking about me, personal. And that person was Donald Trump. So she didn't know how to answer that. And it's the truth.
You threw her.
I don't lie. I tell it like it is. It's the truth. He is my hero. And I'm not going to get into the real personal reason because people would say, well, he's your hero because he's called your wife several times. My wife came down with cancer. Actually doing this trial that they put me through. She watched Fox, which, by the way, have forgotten me the last year. I've been on Fox for 24 years, but that's another issue.
That's another story, yeah.
That's another story. That day will come. One day they're going to be begging me to get on that show.
You heard it here on the Chips and Salsa show.
And the only reason I don't badmouth Fox that much because our president has a halfway relationship, and he blasts them too.
Yeah.
He's not ashamed.
That's true. Sheriff, I want to, you have such a wonderful story about your birth, and I would like you to share it. James Estrada, who's my good friend, he suggested this. I thought it was a good idea, that you should tell that story, and then we're going to connect that with Tina, who's here on behalf of the rally that we're having in Phoenix on Saturday, because we're having an Arizona for Life march and rally, and she's with an organization about roses. She'll explain it and everything, and buying roses. So could you share with that? And I should mention too, do you remember you used to have your office at the Wells Fargo building downtown?
Yes.
And my boss had it when I first started working for Stan. That's where it was. And once in a while I'd run into the sheriff, and I don't know, we started talking about stuff, and you told me that story. So could you share that with our audience?
Well, I don't like talking about my personal, but I'm beginning to do that. I think I have the right after all the years to let some people know who I really am, because I do have a heart. And my mother and father came here legally from Italy. I'm very proud of my ethnic, I'm proud of being an American, but you never forget where you came from. I don't care if you're Italian, Hispanic, you should never forget where you came from, period. So, unfortunately, my folks came over about 16, it was way back,
1916.
Way back. Father opened up an Italian grocery store, made it into 2 or 3, Springfield, Massachusetts. So my mother died, and I say she gave her life for me, because this is a little difficult because my father never talked too much about that. But what I gleaned, she didn't have an abortion, she would be in serious medical problems. But she refused, and she had me, and she died. So.
She died giving childbirth.
But so I'm a big right to life. Now I'll say something else that I keep quiet. My daughter, big Catholic, I am. Her husband is another religion, but she's adopted 4 kids when they're born through the Catholic service. Awesome. And I don't like saying this, but I think it's about time because I'm writing a book that should be out June.
We'll have to look for that.
and it's going to be a bombshell. I don't know if anybody wants to read it, but I'm sure gonna
I bet
lower
they
the boom,
will.
politically and otherwise. But
So you have
I-
4 grandbabies that are adopted.
when they're born, and I say that because I'm not going to get into the mothers and the what the problems were with drugs, but when you look at them, wait a minute, they wouldn't be here if the mothers, and the mothers had their problems, all of them, and they could very easily had an abortion. So I throw that in there too. When you look at them, gee, they could have, they wouldn't be here. Now, just the extra step, I have one that's black. I have another that's Mexican with Down syndrome. Now, I don't like, my son married a Hispanic. So when they go and they call me a racist every hour on the hour, I don't come back and talk about this. I'm just talking, you asked me about my feelings towards abortion, and I'm telling you that I have a personal reason too, not just a religious. My family's very religion on the Catholic side. So I'm a big right to life, always have been. I don't play both sides. I come out and I said it. And I think I have a right, living through a personal experience, and also as a law enforcement guy, you know, my job is to enforce the laws, but I also have the right to give my opinion on the abortion issue.
I'm so glad that you shared that story with us. So for a minute, I want to turn a little bit over to Tina, because Tina is here and we're going to talk. Are you going to go to this
When is
rally? It's Saturday.
it? Tomorrow? I mean, Saturday?
Today's Thursday, so Saturday. A couple
Yeah,
of days.
well, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I have to do it. I'll be at the gun show Saturday and Sunday. Geez, I don't want to mix up guns now with the abortion.
Uh-oh.
But I had this plan a long time ago.
Sure. Well, I know you're there in spirit.
But I've been to, and thank you for what you do. You're a hero too, and how you try to do what you can to save the lives of the unborn. And it's getting pretty far out what they're doing to the unborn. I call that murder. If you want to
Yes,
look into the whole aspect of this
it is.
problem.
So Tina is going to tell us about Roses for Life.
Right, and the rally, because they're both together. The Arizona for Life March and Rally will be happening. We have a launch point next to Cesar Chavez Plaza downtown on Washington Street. We're asking everyone to come and gather about 10:30 on Saturday morning, January 18th. At that area, that location, that's where we will launch the march itself, and then we will march the mile down to Wesley Boland Plaza and have a rally for an hour, 2 hours. And we have great speakers that I'd like to share with you about too. But at the launch point in the morning, we'll have food trucks and other things going on. It's going to be a very family-friendly environment, because that's what life is about. Life is family. Life is birth from conception,
Right.
all the way until the grave. And that encompasses so much. That's just so much about family. So we want to encourage moms with strollers and dads and teenagers and young people and all
Everybody's
that.
welcome.
Everybody is welcome. And at that point, we're also going to have a lot of other pregnancy resource centers or people who work in the care of women who are pregnant, and you can get some great information. I know my son was sending out invitations to his friends, their older teens, and saying, "Hey, come and march with me on Saturday." And he's had a few responses about, "I don't really know how I feel about all of that." Well, that's a great time for high schoolers and college students to come and find out, learn more about it, because
A lot of information there.
it's going to be a lot of information. In the Roses for Life, we are trying to create a wall of remembrance at the rally point, but it will begin at the launch, because we would like as many people who would like to participate to come in and get a rose, and those are done through donations to the Arizona Life Coalition, and that will help fund their endowment fund. And in that endowment fund, so all the proceeds from the Roses for Life portion of the event will go back into the endowment fund and pregnancy resource centers all around Arizona, not just Maricopa County, everywhere around Arizona. If they apply for a grant, then that money will then feed into those grants and help someone. So say a pregnancy care center would like to have an ultrasound machine, because we know that women, when they come in and they're trying to make that choice, am I going to keep my child or not, if they are able to have an ultrasound done of their unborn child, 90% of those women choose to save their child and to carry them full term. And so those are important things.
Access to actual information.
Exactly.
Very important.
Yes. And so for the Roses for Life, that's what it's so important. $10 will will allow a person to carry one rose. $100 for a dozen. So if some people like that, they can do a little bit more. They can always share those roses with other people. And then we want to have the visual of everyone marching down Washington Street to the Wesley Boland Plaza.
Tina, if somebody can't make the rally, can they still go ahead and purchase roses?
They can. They can sponsor roses, and then what we will do is we will pass those out to people who can't or aren't able at that moment to do that.
So if you can't go online. We'll give you the
Please.
website in a second, and buy a rose or two or three or four. Exactly.
And then what we're going to have is a wall of remembrance. And then everyone who's carrying roses will be able to put their rose on the wall of remembrance. And our goal, and thanks to some wonderful, generous people in town who have underwritten the cost of all of this, we are able to have 12,533 roses available to everyone who attends. We would love to have the donations, but like I said, the sponsored roses, we can help with that.
And that number represents something, doesn't it?
It does. It represents the amount of children who were aborted in the state of Arizona in 2017.
That's
And
just,
so to have a physical representation of 12,533 roses representing one life for each rose, it's just, we really want people to be able to see what that looks like. And we just want to be able to help people out like that. At the rally, where the wall will be, Abby Johnson. You all probably remember last year the Unplanned movie came out.
if you haven't seen Unplanned, please try to see that movie. I'm sure
Yes.
there'll be copies of it
There
there
will be
available.
copies
and
at
everything.
the
Awesome.
rally that you can purchase, and at a very good fee, so that all those monies go back and help other people also. But Abby Johnson will be our keynote speaker. Ryan Baumberger will also be there. He's a Emmy Award-winning writer, and he has a wonderful, just like your story, how touching your story was about your mother. He has a very touching story about his mother and his birth, and so there's just going to be some great speakers, live music, other people. The governor is going to be there representing the state, so there's just going to be a wonderful amount of activity and ways for people who support life to come together, so that we can show the Arizona community that we are together on this. People coming from all over the state, also Tucson, and other people coming from up north.
And if you can't get there early enough to do the march, you can still come by, because you'll be there till what time?
We're going to be there until about 2:30 in the afternoon at Wesley Boland. So we will launch from the launch site with the walking or the marching at 11:30, and then we'll be down to the Wesley Boland about 12:30, and then we'll start the rally. Abby will speak, Ryan will speak, Bishop Olmsted will be there. It's just a great group of people who are going to be there, and that'll go until about 2:30, and it'll just be a wonderful time.
Well, I'm really glad you came, because, from time to time, if you follow us on Facebook on our Chips and Salsa site, we have people that like to come on here. They're from the other side. We got our trolls. To me, it's a badge of honor. You're talking about people criticizing you. It's a badge of honor. And the complaint always is, well, you conservatives, you don't do anything to help. You just want to. You're pro-life, but you don't do anything to help these, and that's so untrue. What happens really? I mean, I could sit here for an hour and tell you people and organizations, we just don't brag about it.
Right.
We're not big braggers, but there are so many resources and things. If you are out there and you happen, unfortunately, if you're even considering abortion, please come to this rally. Please come, or contact us. We'll put you in touch with so many resources and things. People want to help you. They really do. Conservatives want to help you, and other people want to help you do that. All right, before we switch back, we'll to Sheriff, and you're welcome to stay here and hang out with us. Anything else you'd like to say about the rally?
Well, to that point, this is not a Republican or conservative
Right.
event. There are going to be Republicans and Democrats and independents and maybe people who aren't even affiliated with a particular party. But we want everyone to know that it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you are on. If you stand for life, please come and stand with us and march with us. Another side that I also want people to know, the resources that you were discussing. If someone if there's a young lady or a woman even who's years ago had an abortion, there are services to help
Right.
those women who have had abortions and who are struggling through that pain. We know that it's a loss, and so women do struggle with that. That's a female thing, and we have resources to help you, and we can connect you with those people on Saturday also. So this is open to everyone.
Good. Please come. As you said, whatever side, even if you're not a pro-life person, just come down. Have an open mind. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you
So you
for
can hang
having
out
us.
here. If you need to go, you can go, but you're welcome to just stay and hang out with us.
Okay.
Well, just
Great.
like Abby Johnson's story, she was a college student, and twice she got pregnant, and she had her future. She didn't want kids at the time, and it was really it was a struggle that she had, and she was convinced by that organization,
Planned Parenthood.
yeah,
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood, to abort her child, and it changed her life. It changed her life so much that she left Planned Parenthood and she started the organization, and then the film documents all of that, and it's a very touching
And it's
film.
a good film. It's very well done. It's
Yes.
extremely
And
well
if you,
done.
and
Yes,
if you heard her speak, where she's going to be speaking at the rally, it'll touch you because she's talking from her heart. She's talking from experience,
Right.
and it's something really you should go to if you have a chance to that rally.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you shared your story, Sheriff, because a lot of people don't know that about you, and it's quite
You
fascinating.
know, one thing I want to say about the sheriff, they accused him of so much, and they took him to court for so much. All he
They
did,
were after you, boy.
all he did was what the people voted him in there to do his job. He was following the law, and for following the law, of course, the Obama administration chastised him, and then, of course, the Democrats all went against him, is because they used that as a talking point, and they just made it worse and worse and called him racist. He's not a racist. I've known this man for over 10 years. He's not a racist.
And then, if I didn't mention this already, but remember, George, when we did Arizona Latino Republican Association, we had just started up. And this man, I came to my mailbox, he gave us $50. He was like our first donation, his Latino organization. So
And
true.
he didn't have to do that, because he was already sheriff.
Yeah.
And he had already won an election. But that's the kind of man.
He's always
this
been
man
very
is.
supportive of our group.
He's a good
I'm
Republican, a
glad-
good patriot for the state of Arizona.
I'm so
People
glad
should
you
know that.
mentioned the Obama thing, because when all this stuff was happening, all that was going through my head, Sheriff, is they saw this world famous figure and they thought, if we could take that guy down, yeah, you're just such a big target, don't you think? I mean,
And they wouldn't have taken him down had it not been for that court case. That court case, it just gravitated the news and took over his election. And then the money, of course, the Soros put in. But that other guy that won, I won't mention his name either. The other guy who's current sheriff, he wasn't qualified. Not as qualified as our sheriff was. And I hope that he wins this election, because he was the best sheriff then, and he'll be the best sheriff in the future.
I do have a soft spot because they criticize me on the jails and, you're killing everybody. The tent city is awful. And they'll throw that out. Well, I've had 2.5 million people come through the jail since I've been sheriff. Every department is going to have problems on lawsuits. You want to look in Phoenix, and they don't even run a jail. But I've had some great programs. I'm glad that the president now has made animal cruelty a federal crime.
you're a big animal rights advocate.
That was one of my top priorities. But I've had drug prevention programs, the best in the country. Religious, had about 500 volunteers to talk to the inmates, try to find jobs for the inmates. I can go on, and I'm pretty proud. But you'll never hear that by hardly anybody. Now, 4 presidential candidates came to the tents to visit me.
That's right.
Bob Dole, Phil Gramm of Texas, Governor Wilson, California, and John McCain. And Grant Woods, the big enemy, former Attorney General, he ought to look at his own self, his problems. It's a big, he's the one that said take the tents down. He led the committee. And yet when he visited the tents, oh, what a great program this is and all that.
Sheriff, the tents. I remember you saying that, because if you're gonna have to be in that jail, a lot of people, they wanted to be in the tents because at least they would be outside.
Well, Alex, today, I can't figure this one out. Maybe you can help since you've been involved in the political system on the outside. But I can't figure it out because I'm getting more people now that come to me. And they recognize me more, I think, now than when I was sheriff. And they come to me. A lot of people that I know, first thing they say, I was in your jail.
That's how they remember.
I was in your tent. Looks like the whole world was in my tents because everywhere I go, I don't care who they are, what they are, they were in the tent.
I was in your jail.
But the point is, they thank me. The mothers and fathers have thanked me.
Wow.
And the inmates have thanked me, saying if I didn't go through that system, I'd still be on drugs. You saved my life. Now, that makes me feel good that I did something. They can go against, talk about the chain gangs and the first female chain gang in history. And I have a method to my madness. I always have a reason. A reason. Tents are awful. It's 130 degrees. I said, no, it's 120 degrees. But I said, why our men and women are living fighting for our country overseas, and they're living in tents. All the people in the tents have been convicted. So don't go giving me this garbage that this is so bad. And I don't think we ever had anyone die in the tents.
Yeah.
And I've had over 500,000 come through that program in the tents.
What was the thing about the pink underwear?
I have that pink underwear autographed by Sheriff.
How did that?
Well, if you have a pair?
No, but I think I saw one of the t-shirts.
Save it to when I die, which is going to be maybe 10, 20 years from now.
I have a mug.
Because you'll be worth a lot of money. Now, everybody talks about the pink underwear. I had a reason. They were stealing the white underwear. Nobody wears pink, so I dyed it pink. When they check out, pink. That's our.
Yeah.
Now, that's the official reason, and all the lawyers will say, "Don't you say the other thing." I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it.
Here we go, chips and salsa.
Why would you give the inmates something they like? Now, they don't like pink, so they're going to have to wear pink. They wanted to smoke, watch porno, coffee. I took all that stuff away when I ran. Did all that.
Why do you want to make it a place for them to stay?
But I do have a heart. I think I could because I always go and meet the inmates. I slept twice in jail.
Oh, really?
Voluntarily. I checked in, did everything an inmate does. Because my philosophy, if I can do it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You never heard about
Period.
that. You never heard about that.
And it's been when I did it, of course I had a TV. In fact, he's still with us. And when I go live on Channel 3, hey, they can't edit. I said, you and I slept together. That's the morning show. He's been there longer than me. What's it?
On TV?
Yeah, I forgot his name. How can I forget him? So
Trying to think of the
anyway,
morning people.
so I believe in having people do things, and I like to set
about
the
the
example.
animals. You would drive down Durango, and you could see the animals. They had their cages. The inmates were taking care of the animals. They had volunteer inmates that were taking care of the animals.
Great
They weren't
program.
forced to do
Great
it. They
program.
did it, and they were happy to do it. Walking the horses, the dogs, everything. It was fantastic.
Yeah, but I had the animals in jail. I kicked out the inmates, threw them in the tents, and I used those cells, to
Right.
put the dogs in there, and had the female inmates take care of the dogs to learn how to love animals and so on.
That's good therapy.
And,
Does he-
and I
does it-
took heat on that too, because I said, I treat the dogs better than the inmates, which, in a way, I mean, I gave them
Do
good
they still have
food.
that program? Did that
Everything's
cut rid
gone.
of things?
Everything's
That was such a
gone.
great.
No,
How could?
no,
It's an
everything's
increase
gone.
over there.
Man, that's
But
So,
I think as a criminal, if I'm in there and I'm gonna have to spend 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 60 days, if I'm in charge of taking care of animals, I think that I would love passing my time rather than sitting in a cot
Yeah.
or sitting in the yard doing nothing. I think that, I mean, that was brilliant. That
why
was
do I
brilliant.
put females on the chain gang? That's a good question.
Yeah.
The only one in history. I'm an equal opportunity incarcerated.
There you go.
Why would I let males volunteer to go on the chain gang and not let the women? So
Right. That'd be
why do
sexist.
I put them on chains? I don't put them in a desert. I put them right on Central Avenue. In fact, when there was the World Series, I was going to put them in front of so the whole world can see them. My reason is this. Because when the mother and father is driving down in their car and they see that chain gang, I hope they tell Johnny, hey Johnny, you do anything wrong, you're going to be on that chain gang. Why do I send the inmates to bury the deceased at the county cemetery? I've been doing that for years because I want to let them know how serious life is. Unfortunately, a lot of them drugs and set the example. So I always have a reason. Now, I do get in trouble because I always publicize what I do. Now, why do I publicize everything? I don't run a CIA operation. I can't get on shows all the time like Alex to give my story out. I have to do it a different way. I do it by rationalizing how important it is for rehabilitation too. Rehabilitation, but when you violate the law, you should not live better in jail than you do on the outside. That's why I took away cigarettes. That's why I took away the coffee, took away the porno, took away the
They actually
R-rated
had-
movies.
they
I
actually
did
had-
that.
They actually had that inside the jail.
The
were
what?
able-
They had
porno?
access.
Of course.
They had access to.
Wow.
So I did all that when
Didn't you
I
put
took
Frank
off.
Sinatra? You were like, he had Frank Sinatra music.
Shaquille
and everything.
O'Neal went to his tent city. Shaquille O'Neal.
So I have this. I don't know if you know what this is, and I have a Smith and Wesson gun, old fashioned. I also have a Smith Corona typewriter,
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the old ones.
and then I have this, which is called a flip flopper,
Wow.
This is Sarah's favorite phone now, right?
and it sings my way when they dial it. I get the ring.
Oh, that's your ringtone?
Yeah.
You did it my way.
Now, when I talk before the kids in high school, it's an example, but it's a very serious problem we have. I always say, how old do you think I am? And I give them a clue. I joined the Army when the Korean War broke out, 1950. I was 18. How old am I? They even go to their little, whatever you call it, they can't even figure it out.
Oh,
And then I give them another clue. Oh, I became sheriff when I was 60 years old, and I served 24 years. How old am I? They can't figure it out. Everything is on
goodness.
this thing. Everything is on this thing. How do you spell Joe?
we spelled
you almost
Joe.
spelled
What's the gal, the queen? What do you call the gal when you ask?
Siri.
Siri.
How do you spell Joe? Oh, Joe is Joe. They don't know what a dictionary is. They're a slave, a complete
We are
slave
slaves,
to this.
And they couldn't even read cursive until now. They brought them back to school. I think.
That's
Yeah,
the worst
Arizona
thing.
does. Arizona does. Not all
So
states.
I'm going to be at ASU.
Oh, you are?
My daughter graduated from ASU, journalism.
That's right.
And I'm going to be there on the 29th, 28th, and I'm going to talk to the young
Oh, the college
Republican.
Republicans.
Yeah.
College Republicans.
There's
We've
two
had them on.
Republican groups. There's a more
Remember
conservative,
Julie? Yeah.
and I am going to talk. And now it's a big issue because now Antifa, that's that organization,
Yeah.
are going to be there in force, and there's going to be a lot of demonstrators. But I'm very proud of the young Republican group because they're not backing down from any pressure.
They won't.
Now, ICE, immigration, was supposed to talk there, and they chicken out because of demonstrators. No demonstrator is going to keep me from doing my job or to speaking out,
They never have.
and they
have.
never will.
I'm so glad that you are going to do that and not back down. And I want to just give Super Sarah, a heads up. Super Sarah, if you have a question, Sarah's a Zoomer, okay, because of her age. That's Generation Z. If you have a question for the sheriff, just
Give it to me.
have at it.
You've heard about the sheriff, right? In your time. Do you have any question that you might?
Or if there's
She's bashful.
something that you think of, just bring it up, and you might have to stay a minute.
Yeah, I appreciate to hear from her. I'm Carlos Garcia. He's now a city councilman.
Oh,
There's a big story in the Republic
I saw that today.
printed by a editorial person. I won't get into that.
yeah, and the person is not necessarily on the right side of the aisle, right? That
So
wrote this.
I'll tell you that off the when I leave.
Oh, okay.
So
Just to let our audience
Yeah.
know, though, Mr. Garcia, Councilman Garcia, is my council person, and he has a reputation now for wearing T-shirts that say "Stop
Hate
Police."
cops.
He does not like our police officers.
okay, why is wait a minute?
I mean, well, that's
Okay,
the impression
why-
he gives, I should say.
Why is the media covering up? And in LA and here, when I've gone public, thank God I have a what do you call it, Facebook. When the mayor of LA, he's still the mayor, came here, demonstrated against me, wearing the shirt, Arrest Arpaio, and nobody will print that. He led all the demonstrators. Here's the mayor of LA. Now we're talking about the city councilman. But I love to meet with him in a Mexican restaurant. I'll meet with anybody. Is that your councilman?
He is.
Well, why
I
don't
live
you
in that
tell
district.
him,
I'll call
go
him and
meet
let
with
him
the
know.
sheriff. I'll be glad to meet with him. I have nothing against him. In a way, I have to commend him in a way that at least he's a fighter.
Yeah,
He's
that's
out
true.
there fighting, and I don't like what he's fighting against, but at least he has the guts to fight.
That's
No,
true.
I'd like to meet with him. I like to meet with anybody. I've had 8 people from Florida visit me. They were dreamers. They came to visit me in my office and almost wanted me to lock them up. And I spent 3 hours with them. When they left, 4 of them were on my side,
Wow.
the dreamers. That's a big issue today.
Absolutely.
If I can get to meet with people, whether they're my enemies or not, I don't care.
Well, Sheriff, I know that your reputation, and as long as I've known you, that's what you have an open door policy. You're not a person who refuses interviews or to talk to people. You've never been that way. Like, say, I used to call you at 5 a.m. at your house. Your poor wife. And he'd come on our station because our show started that early.
No,
So you've always been that way.
I know we don't have much time, but I got to segue into my wife.
Well, how's she doing?
Please.
My wife, well, she got bit by a rattlesnake, and she spent 4 days in intensive care. And I made a mistake. I never should have joked about it, because when she got bit in my house, the snake went in the garage into the house watching TV, a big snake, rattlesnake, and I joked. I said, well, this is bad. It must have been the snake was probably a Democrat. But then when she was released, I said, I apologize. Now I realize how serious. I never should have called that snake a Democrat. So, which, you know me, I kind of joke all the time. So actually the Democrats I put out another letter raising money to get me now, which is great. It's a badge of honor, you know. Maybe Soros won't have to pitch in $3 million this time.
Going after you.
So, and I had Democrat friends. Believe me, I'm going to tell you something. It'll be in my book.
What's the name of your book? Do you have a
I
title?
don't have it yet.
Not yet.
So, I learned a lot this time around. And I figure you're going to say, everybody says, oh, that's politics. Okay, it's politics. But I sure learned who my friends are this time around. I've endorsed so many people. From the governor, I can name them all. And they're still asking me for my endorsement. Believe it, around the nation. I travel around the nation talking to Republican clubs. They all want me to talk. Today, they want me to do it. I'm going to Hawaii. Be very exciting. Talk to a whole big group of people.
You know, Sheriff, when I ran for office for the Maricopa Special Healthcare District, you endorsed me also. I remember
I
we went to your
endorsed you?
office and
Did you win?
endorsed me. Yeah, I did.
Oh, I finally
won.
won one.
There's 5. There were 5 of us running, nonpartisan, and I got 48% of the vote. And that's in the South Mountain area.
How many
District
years
5.
ago was that?
This was 2008. I served from 2008 to
I was
2012.
taken at
That
the
was-
city council?
No, it was the hospital district. I ran against 2 attorneys and 2 doctors, and the sheriff did endorse me. Yeah. And I thank you for that.
Well, I've campaigned for all these presidents too. Where are they now? Where is he? That's my guy.
Trump 2020.
Now, my wife, I've been married 61 years, going on 62. I met her when I was a cop in Washington. I led off Eisenhower's parade holding the flag. Went to Vegas for 6 months on the police. My name, the fame was every time I talked to the younger people, I said, I grabbed Elvis Presley. What? And they forget everything else. All they want to talk about is Elvis Presley.
We shared that story on our Facebook page, yeah.
So my mom went to high school with Elvis Presley.
Because I never found out who the blonde was. Now,
That
when
wasn't her though. She
No.
was
So-
but she went to high school with him at Humes High School in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, he was a big supporter of cops. He especially got involved in drug abuse, not to, to help the president. Gave him my one of my badges, the old Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. But so my wife has followed me to Turkey, lives in Turkey. Actually, she saved my life. And how did she save my life? My job has always come first. My family second. I'm not ashamed to say that. That's the way I was. All I did was work. Fortunately, my wife, a great mother, was really able to raise two great kids. And I was supposed to go to Beirut from Istanbul, to meet a big dope peddler. I never turned down a case. Never. My wife, after being away 6 months, they wouldn't send her over, the cheap outfit I worked for, until the son, they found out the son would be 2 years old, and I told him, you're going to save an airline ticket. So I got my family here in 5 months, but all the cops and everybody was there with the flowers, and I said, I am going to meet my wife at that airport. That dope peddler can wait for a day to get his money.
Nice.
That plane, there's only one plane from Istanbul to Beirut that I was supposed to be on, crashed and killed everybody. So the next day I'm flying over, I'm watching the remains of that airplane. And she's been helped me undercovers when I was a young federal agent in Chicago. She used to answer all the phones. I mean, who gives out a home phone to all these dope peddlers? So one day I'm Gino, and she's a proud. I said, I can go on and on. So my wife has been a trooper, and she's 61 years. 61 years. We're going on 62, and I have to give most of my credit to her. She has never complained, never. And so Ava, everybody loves Ava. Everywhere I travel in the United States, hey, how's Ava doing? on the snake bite. Snake, you all know about, everybody knows about the snake bite. Maybe I ought to get bit by a snake and I'll win the election.
Congratulations on going on 62 years of marriage. That is awesome.
Yeah, but that was tough in a way because I was a very look as sheriff for 24 years.
Yeah.
I've had about 6 cartels have hits on me, assassination, and all these threats I've had. You know, the media says that's all garbage. Well, how can it be garbage? The guy that sends me a bomb, we arrest, and all the others that threaten to kill me, we arrest. When I got fake arrests here, that's not true. The media has gotten worse than it's ever been, believe me. And I'm a little fed up with it. And one reason I'm suing, they're calling me a convicted felon. I am not a convicted felon. I won't get into McCain, what he calls me or called me. I'm not, you know, I respect his service. And we were big buddies first several years. Mm-hmm. But that's okay, I respect. And he's going to be in my book too. In a nice way.
It's going to be something else.
It won't be a nice way, but it's. I know I'm going to take heat.
You're going to have to come back when you do your book.
Yeah,
We've got 2 minutes left, Sheriff. I want to take some time and thank Tina for coming on board today. We look forward to seeing you Saturday. I'm not sure what time I'm going to be there, but I'll look for you. And
yes,
George
please.
is going to be there too, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try to be there. We want to thank our chairman, Dr. Kelly Ward, for allowing us to be here in the People's House and to do our show and to bring great guests like the Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Tina Drake, and many more that'll come and will come on this show here at the People's House.
I want to give a thanks and shout out to our intern, Super Sarah. She's awesome.
Super.
She goes to Grand Canyon College, and she's helping us out every Thursday night. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And I want to thank all the chipsters, or the people that follow us. We call them chipsters. You're a chipster now, too. And we appreciate you guys following us so much. And also to Secret Sonia, because she's behind the lines doing stuff from remotely. She always helps us.
The
we
next
appreciate
time you come, Sheriff, we'll have the chips and salsa here for you.
He was supposed to bring you chips and salsa.
Don't worry about it. I'm on the diet. I lost 35 pounds.
Yeah.
I drink the Italian, and everybody says you look 60. It's Italian olive oil. I drink
right
it.
On. Oh, wow.
So
That's the secret.
I just want to thank all of you for what you do
Thank
for
you,
our
Sheriff.
country in your own way. The power of the microphone, you can balance out quite a bit, especially what's going on today. So thank you for telling it like it is.
Thank you for coming, and you have an open invitation. Okay, so come back.
Good luck in the election.
Good luck, and everybody can find you. Just go on Facebook, and there's hundreds of thousands of followers. You're on Twitter. You're
What's
on
your page,
Instagram.
Pardon?
What's your Twitter page? Or your
Well, my Twitter is a real Sheriff Joe.
Real Sheriff
And
Joe.
the Facebook, I guess, Arpaio, you can find me somewhere.
You can find him. Just Google whatever. He's
Sheriff
there.
Joe Arpaio, Facebook.
Great. All right. Any closing words to the
No,
audience?
my closing words I just said. Thank
Okay.
you for what you guys do.
Tina has a Facebook.
azliferally.org if you need more information about the Saturday's event. So
Don't miss this Saturday. It's gonna be good.
azliferalle.org.
Be there.
Don't
Be there,
miss this
please.
Saturday. It's going to be a great month.
All right, Sarah, any closing thoughts from you? Anything? All right, good deal. So I think that's it. Till next Thursday, we're having Reverend Clyde Bowen on here. You join us also for our Tuesday edition at 5 p.m. And thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of the week. See you Saturday.